I sat down this weekend with 5 voters in the Tampa-St. Petersburg area, and a note to viewers, we met before the full magnitude of the terrible shootings in Pittsburgh was clear. We gathered at a popular meeting place called the Oxford Exchange. The voters ranged in age from 27 to 75. Jake Hoffman is a Republican who owns a digital media company. Trevor Mallory is a Democrat who works at investing in affordable housing. Sandy Reef is a registered Republican but has been voting Democratic lately. He's a tax attorney. Liz Gutierrez is a Democrat who runs a nonprofit. And Sherry Denham is a Republican who's employed by a law firm.
This election cycle is just as important or more important than 2016. You know, someone is calling this Trump's re-election.
Trevor, what about you? How important do you think it is?
It's like Sherry touched on, this is being called the Trump re-election. And for those that really don't want to hear that, now is the time to get up and make a difference.
Let's talk about what's on your mind. What is it that is driving your vote this time?
There are a lot of issues. There's a lot of things at stake. We have 2 taxes on our ballot here in Hillsborough County. If those pass, we will be the highest taxed county in Florida. And so that's very important to me. With the unfortunate event in Parkland, you know, the Second Amendment has become a huge issue here in Florida. And, you know, I don't believe that we need more gun control rights.
Why not?
We need to help people who have mental health issues. That is the area that really needs to be addressed. It's not gun control. We need to reshift the focus to helping people that need help.
What is it that is driving you to make sure to vote that makes you believe these elections matter?
So for me, I'm one of those silly people that believe in peace and justice for all, not just for some. While it is important to keep our taxes, for example, in check, it is also very important to invest in the society and in our community. So if we don't educate our young children, if we don't create the best schools that we can, if folks don't have economic opportunity, then we're all in trouble.
What about you, Trevor? What matters to you?
Number one is education. In Pinellas County, we're at a rate of where the percentage is overwhelming on how many of our students can't read, and that needs to be changed. And I think it has to do with not the quality of teachers, but just the pay of the teachers. And number two, the gun laws. We just have to change them. And I really commend those young kids at Storm and Douglas, the way they actually stepped up after the incident that happened there. And I believe they are really a key part of the excitement about this midterm election. And number three is the restoring of rights. I just think people need to get more educated on who's allowed to get their rights back, number one, and how long should it take, and who shouldn't get their rights back.
For a felon?
For felons.
Jake, what about you? What's driving you, especially in the Senate and the governor's races?
There really is a lot. So as for me personally, whenever I see something about the environment on there, I'm excited if I have candidates that are going to talk about that.
Sandy, what about you? You've taken interest in politics. What matters most to you
I think
right now?
Right now, healthcare does. I'm on Medicare, and you know, we don't have a good healthcare system in this country. Obamacare was excellent, and it's been beaten down. Other issues that I think are important: the environment, sea level rise. Climate change, that's important. People got to realize that if we don't do something like that, you know, the state of Florida will be underwater.
Liz, let me come back to you. What are you thinking right now when you think about the governor's race between Congressman DeSantis and the mayor of Tallahassee, Andrew Gillum?
The word that comes to me is fear. It's really a hostile environment where folks, even regular people, don't feel comfortable in talking to each other because they're afraid of the differences in opinion might lead to something else.
I kind of agree with, you know, what she said. People are afraid of, you know, one or the other. They're afraid, everybody's afraid of losing their rights, whether it's, you know, rights for guns or their rights to like a safe community.
Trevor, how do you see the governor's race right now?
Well, I have to say, during the primaries, I did support Mayor Andrew Gillum, and I've been actually still working to help support him. But once he won the nomination, and then DeSantis came out with this comment about monkeying it up, I just think that line did not have to be crossed when you're talking about racism. You know, it was racially pushed, but it just didn't need to happen.
You know, to the monkeying around comment, I personally, when I heard that, I didn't take that as a racial, issue. There's a lot of other things that I hear that I can say, wow, that was meant, that's egregious. That's something that I think is racially charged. Well, we just had robocalls that were put out around the state that made local news and state news, and they're clearly very racist. If you go and listen to them or read the transcripts, then that's something that you can see is racially charged. But you can't pull racism from one comment like that.
Trevor, is it possible that there's been an overreaction from the people supporting Andrew Gillum?
I don't think there's an overreaction. I just think we took it, we commented on it, and we dealt with it, and now we're moving on. It actually ignited us in the African American community because I want to touch on what you said. You said you don't think it's a racist comment, but at the same time, the robocall was in effect to monkeying it up because there was monkeys in the background, and if you're gonna deem that racial, then I think that comment or slip of the tongue, however you want to label it, that also has to be deemed as a racial comment.
Let me come to you, Sandy, on some of this. Governor's race, what do you see unfolding here?
It's the entire political spectrum. Everybody's telling lies.
Everybody, both political
Everybody
parties.
is telling lies. It starts at the top, at the President of the United States, and it goes all the way down. Every one of the commercials that you see is a lie because they're trying to make their opponent look bad. We're not talking about the issues, the things that are important to the citizens of Florida and the citizens of our country.
The governor's race, Gillum, who are you for and why?
Of course, I have to support Andrew Gillum. I am not the problem in our society. As a Latino woman, I'm a part of the solution. I'm a contributor. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a voter. I have everything to give. And if we don't have a society that values my contributions as equal as it values that of anyone else, what kind of society do we have?
Sherry, what about you? Governor's race, Gillum, DeSantis.
I am a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican. So I vote my values. My number one value is pro-life. So I vote from a pro-life viewpoint, always. And so obviously I'm going to go for DeSantis. I also voted for President Trump.
Jake, as involved with the young Republicans, you're supporting Republicans. Why Ron DeSantis in this governor's race?
Because the alternative is very scary to me as far as an economic climate goes. Higher taxes all around is something that worries me. It really does worry me.
I want to turn to President Trump. How much does what he says, what he's done, how much is that a factor in the people you plan to vote for?
What we're seeing and what we're hearing from him is just not the typical role model I would want for my kids to look at. So when he comes down to support these candidates and have these rallies, it just stays negative.
DeSantis was asked about whether or not Trump was a role model. The answer is no, right? That's not something that we should hesitate to say. Again, as a Republican, I take a lot of flack for certain things that I say, whether it's because it comes from a moderate, reasonable position. But it's easy to see that there are things that he says that are not okay. It is okay to say that, and we can do that at the same time as agreeing with some of the policies that he has.
Do you think he's an asset for Republicans this year?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. He is going to do a great job at helping turn out the vote for Republicans, yeah.
I believe he is a force for positive. I don't think we needed just a nice, normal politician. I think our country was in such a state that we needed a wrecking ball to go into Washington and wreck it.
How much do you feel the country is divided right now? What do you think about that, Jake? And does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The country is definitely divided. I mean, you see that at rallies, you see that at protest and counter-protest. I mean, we've got parties that are sitting on very far sides of the political spectrum.
Well, the president is blaming a lot of this, Sherry, on the news media, saying that the news media is contributing to the division. How do you see that?
There's a lot of things that we all agree on. I think we just have different roads and different avenues to get to these solutions. And I think that I agree that the media does. It kind of leans toward, more liberal. They have a very loud voice. A lot of my friends get put in Facebook jail or, shadow banned on Twitter because they tweet out a lot of conservative things. And this is something that's really happening. So but honestly, at our core, I think we are more united than we are divided.
I think we are very divided, and the president is trying to keep us further apart. He refuses to take a position he hasn't commented negatively and said what happened with the bombs that have been sent out. He's not condemned that like he should have. His ambivalence towards Saudi Arabia with Khashoggi, it was something that should have been condemned right out. Those are the types of things. And he goes to the rallies, and none of that is what's designed to bring us together. You can document lie after lie after lie that he tells when he's out there speaking.
If your candidate, your man goes to Washington, what would you like to see him give a little on in order to reach some sort of resolution?
So I'm going to go in the opposite direction and say to you that the thing that I've been disappointed about is I think that as Democrats we haven't been as strong. I think Republicans have been very clear about their messaging. I don't know that we as Democrats have that clear a sense of what the values are, and we have very strong values that I think are beneficial to everyone, but I don't know that we speak of them very clearly and in a way that everyone understands.
As far as Republicans go, again, I think we're going to need to pivot more on the environment because that is something that used to be a bipartisan issue, and education. So we used to be able to agree that if you walk outside, let's be able to take our kid to school and let's be able to breathe the air and go to the beach. We just don't need to fight on some of those things.